Hi, I'm Barry Garcia, and we're going to talk a little bit today about a tutorial for how to light your green screen and make it so that it's really simple to put your subject in any environment. So to start with, we're basically going to talk a little bit about your overhead lighting and any lighting that may be coming in from any windows, as well as your space. Now, to address the lighting issue, if you have any type of light coming into the room that you're doing this in, you need to cover that up, whether it be windows or overhead lights. Cover the windows with any type of black material that you might have, or anything that you can get up to just really cut the light down to nothing. As well as the overhead lights, we don't want these on, so we're going to end up turning them off and start setting our lights up here pretty soon. Now, the last thing is space. Do you have enough space to be able to put the green screen up, your subject in, and get your camera far enough back so that you get a nice cutout of that subject? Now, I'm just using any of these clips that you can buy over at Home Depot, but it makes it really easy to kind of pull the actual curtain tight. The biggest thing with this is you don't want your wrinkles to be seen because it can cause shadows, and basically that destroys your key. We're going to use our Ikan LED 1000 lights to go ahead and light the green screen. I've got this one basically set at a 45-degree angle, and now I'm going to basically have it turned on. I'm going to position, and it's ready to go. Let's set our other one. Okay, so now that we have our other light, I've got it basically set over here at a 45 too. Let's go ahead and turn it on. We've got it nice and set right there on to light up the rest of the green screen. Now we have our green screen lit. Let's make sure it's nice and even all the way across. The first thing we need to do with our camera is with the zebras. Now, as you can tell, the zebras are nice and flat all the way across, so that means it's lit and even all the way across. Now, the other nice thing about this camera is that we can actually turn on a waveform monitor. And in our monitor itself, from 0 to 100, we're right around the 70, which is kind of where we want to be, depending on what our f-stop is. I typically shoot our green screens at around a 3.2, 3.4, somewhere in there. So we get a nice, even key, everything looks good and is in focus. Now we're going to get ready to set our backlights. I'm using two backlights today because of the fact that we've got such a wide green screen. I want to get a nice cutout with my subject from the actual green. So I'm going to set these at a nice easy 45 off to that, and I'm going to aim them so they hit roughly the back of their head and down their shoulder. Let's go ahead and move on to the key and the fill. So let's set the key now. I'm going to use the Ikan ID 1500 light, and we're going to move it about 45 degrees off from my subject so I get a nice good key on the side of her face. Now let's go with our final light, basically the fill. All I'm trying to do here is just fill in this side of her face so the shadow is less harsh when we put her in our finished environment. Now you could put your subject right there in the green if you wanted, but you get a much better key if you bring them out a little bit farther and actually do a traditional 3-point light. For that, we're going to bring in Lindsay today. Lindsay's going to come and she's going to be our model for us. So come on in and have a seat, Lindsay. Get nice and comfortable. So now the next step would be actually going ahead and starting with the lighting process. Key, fill, backlight. To start with, we're going to go ahead and light with our backlights first. I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to basically aim it so that it's hitting right at the back of her head and down her shoulder so she gets a nice cutout on one side. Now that we've set the first backlight, let's go ahead and do our second. I'm going to do the same thing that I did over there. Basically just turn on the light, and then I'm going to aim it right at this side of her head and down her shoulder so that I get a nice cutout on this side as well. Okay, now we're moving on to our key light. For this, I'm using an ID 1500 from Ikan. It's an easy LED light. It's one of our new ones. And what I'm basically going to do is just going to go ahead and power it up, and then I'm going to dim and probably bring it up just a little bit so that I get a nice even side to go with the backlights that I have already started. If you'll notice on Lindsay right now, we actually have some really good modeling on the side of her face. Depending on what your environment that your subject's going to be in, that might be nice to stay. But for what we need to do for our environment that's going to be behind Lindsay, we're going to go ahead and flatten her out with a little bit of a fill light, okay? I'm going to go ahead and turn on this ID 1000. We've already set it up so that it fills in nicely. And as you can see, she's nice and even all the way around. We've got everything that we need to be able to put her in her environment and take care of business. Well, that's it for our tutorial today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Barry Garcia, and we'll see you next time.
Ikan. Features you need, prices you want.